All right, listener, strap in because today's deep dive is going to get seriously interesting.
Definitely exciting stuff.
We're wading into the world of online privacy today
Yeah,
and tackling a potential game changer for Tor users.
it's a big one.
We've gotten a lot of questions about something called Reflec-Tors.
Right, right.
And honestly, when I first heard that name, I thought it was some kind of new, like, high-tech gadget.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it's actually way cooler than that.
Way cooler.
So before we get lost in the weeds...
It's easy to do with this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. What problem are these Reflec-Tors trying to solve?
Well, the core issue is this. Messaging over Tor, while secure, can be really slow
Okay.
and unreliable.
Yeah, we hear you on that.
We're talking about messages just vanishing. Poof, gone.
Like the digital equivalent of snail mail.
Worse, actually. Some users are reporting 45% of messages just disappearing.
Seriously, that's like trying to have a conversation through a tin tan telephone with a bad connection. You'd spend more time saying over than actually talking.
Yeah, something like that. And it all comes down to the way Tor routes messages between those hidden services, those onion sites.
Okay, so it's not the messages themselves that are the problem, it's the route they have to take.
Exactly. It's like, imagine trying to navigate a labyrinth blindfolded.
Oh, I hate those.
Right. And each of those twists and turns, that's another relay where your message could get dropped.
So why is Tor set up this way? Seems like a major design flaw if messages are just going AWOL left and right.
Well, it's that whole anonymity thing. Tor's priority is privacy above all else.
Right, right. Got to maintain that digital invisibility cloak.
Exactly. But, and this is a big but, all that anonymity comes at a price.
And in this case, it sounds like the price is speed and reliability.
You got it. It's a trade-off.
Okay, so cloak and dagger secrecy versus actually, communicating effectively. Which brings us back to these mysterious Reflec-Tors. They're supposed to somehow bridge that gap, right?
That's the idea.
So how do they actually work?
Imagine you're in a crowded room and you need to send a message to everyone there at the same time.
Gotcha.
You could try whispering to each person individually,
Right.
but that would be, well, kind of ridiculous.
And time-consuming. And probably pretty loud with all that whispering going on.
Right. Much easier to just use a loudspeaker.
Okay, so Reflec-Tors are like loudspeakers for the Tor network.
That's a good way to think about it.
I'm all about a good analogy. So walk me through how this loudspeaker actually works within Tor.
You familiar with Tor exit nodes?
Sure, it's the last stop your internet traffic goes through before it hits the public internet, right?
Yeah, like the exit ramp off the Tor highway.
Exactly.
So picture this. We take some of those exit nodes
Okay.
and we give them a little upgrade. We turn them into those secure loudspeakers, our Reflec-Tors.
Instead of those winding back alleys, it's like broadcasting on a main street.
Exactly. So instead of sending messages through that labyrinth we talked about, we send them to a Reflec-Tor. And that Reflec-Tor, it immediately echoes the message out.
So everyone connected to that Reflec-Tor hears it instantly.
You got it.
But it's still encrypted, right?
Absolutely.
Still secure within the Tor network.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the best part. Because these Reflec-Tors, they're integrated into those existing exit nodes.
They're already part of the infrastructure.
Exactly. They inherit all the security features that are built into the Tor network already.
Okay.
And because they're spread out, they're distributed across multiple locations.
Yeah.
It makes them much harder to shut down or block.
So they're more resilient.
Way more resilient.
This is sounding more and more like a win-win.
Right.
We get the security of Tor, but with a serious speed boost and hopefully way fewer lost messages.
Exactly.
So it's like upgrading from a clunky old walkie-talkie to a crystal clear conference call.
I like that analogy.
But let's get real for a second. Are there any downsides to this Reflec-Tor idea?
Yeah, you're right to be cautious.
Because it almost sounds too good to be true.
You always got to look for those trade-offs, right?
Oh,
And one of the big ones here is resource consumption.
okay. How so?
Well, those secure loudspeakers we're talking
yeah,
about.
Reflec-Tors, yeah.
Right. They need a lot of power to operate.
Makes sense.
Each one has to handle tons of messages,
Yeah.
echoing them out to potentially a lot of users.
So it's like adding a bunch of those, what do they call, bandwidth hogs?
Yeah.
To a shared internet connection.
Listen.
Everyone pays the price, even if they're not the ones using all the data.
That's a great way to put it. And then there's adoption.
Right, because right now, this is all theoretical.
Yeah, it's like we need the people who actually operate those Tor exit nodes to buy into this whole thing.
To get on board with actually setting up these Reflec-Tors.
Yeah, implementing the tech, maintaining it.
It's not just a one-time thing, they've got to keep it running.
Right, and that's not a small ask. These are people, volunteers often, who are already putting in time and resources to keep Tor running.
So it's a big commitment.
It is. And then, even if we get past all that,
The tech works, the operators are on board.
there's still the human factor to consider.
Oh, right. Are people actually going to use this new system?
Exactly.
Assuming they even understand it.
Well, that's part of it too, right?
Yeah, we can't have this super secure, super fast system if nobody can figure out how to turn the darn thing on.
Exactly.
It's got to be user-friendly.
Absolutely. And that might mean rethinking how we design Tor-friendly messaging apps, making them work seamlessly with these Reflec-Tors.
So it's not just about building the tech, it's about building it in a way that people will actually use.
Exactly. User adoption, it's a hurdle in itself.
For sure. But let's say we clear all those hurdles. Reflec-Tors are a reality, people are using them, and the internet hasn't imploded.
Best case scenario.
Right. What's the big win here?
Well,
Why should the average person care about faster, more reliable Tor messaging?
that's the key question, isn't it?
Yeah.
This isn't about making things faster just for the sake of speed. It's about what that speed, that reliability, unlocks.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Imagine a world where journalists can safely and quickly share sensitive information from anywhere in the world.
No more waiting for files to upload on slow connections, risking getting caught.
Right. Or activists facing censorship, being able to freely communicate with each other and the outside world.
Whistleblowers who can expose wrongdoing without fear of reprisal.
Exactly. A more reliable Tor network, it empowers individuals.
It levels the playing field.
Yes. It gives a voice to those who have been silenced, shines a light in places where darkness has prevailed.
It's not just about tech, it's about people.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole thing so compelling.
It's really about lifting everyone up, right?
Exactly.
A stronger Tor network makes the whole internet a safer, more private place.
Even for people who don't directly use it.
Exactly. So let's say someone's listening to us right now and thinking, this Reflec-Tor thing, it's brilliant. I want to help make it happen.
I love that enthusiasm.
Where do they even start?
Well, the cool thing is those Reddit posts you mentioned.
The ones that sparked this whole deep dive?
Yeah. They actually lay out some concrete steps.
Okay. I'm always a fan of actionable advice. So what did they suggest?
Well, first things first, we need the tech folks, the ones who really understand Tor, to take a deep dive into this.
Make sure it actually holds water.
Exactly. Analyze it inside and out. Can it work? How will it impact performance? And most importantly, security.
Got to make sure it doesn't create more problems than it solves.
For sure. And then, once the tech side is solid, we need to think about implementation.
Getting those exit node operators on board.
Exactly. We need people actually willing to run these Reflec-Tors.
It's a team effort.
Big time. And then, of course, there's the whole user adoption piece.
Right, because even the most brilliant tech is useless if nobody uses it.
You got it. So we need to think about how to make this new system user-friendly, intuitive.
So it's not just about building the tech, it's about building it in a way that people will actually use. This whole conversation has been mind-blowing. It started with a simple idea, a post on Reddit, and now we're talking about potentially reshaping online privacy as we know it.
It's amazing, isn't it, how these things take shape?
It just goes to show the future of the internet isn't predetermined, it's something we're all actively creating.
I love that thought.
And speaking of creating the future, I can't resist leaving our listeners with one final thought, something to ponder. If these Reflec-Tors can potentially make Tor messaging faster, more reliable, could they be adapted for other purposes? Could they help make the Tor network more resistant to censorship, for example? Just something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this incredible deep dive into the world of Reflec-Tors. We'll have links to those Reddit posts so you can explore the details yourself in our show notes. Until next time, stay curious.